high enough? Can you hear me? Can you not hear me? Can you hear me now? All right. That'll work. Whew. That thing's hot this morning. I think we've done something different to the sound. I told Trish when we walked in, that piano gets louder every time I come in here. I don't think about knock you down sitting back here now. Anyways, I'm not sure where you guys are. Desi, where did you leave off at last week? In 23 or 22? 22, Luke 22, right? Well, I ain't going there anyways. I just wanted to know where you guys was at. I tried to look back on the thing. I couldn't find it on the YouTube channel exactly where y'all were at. But anyways, I'm going to look at something that Ray was talking about a couple Sundays ago, maybe 3 Sundays ago. I'm not up here in this class every day, so I just catch it in between. But what we're going to look at here is in 22, but it's in verse number 31, dealing with Peter a little bit. I'll just go ahead and read it before we get into it. But Ray talked a little bit about this when I was in here a couple weeks ago, and it's something that stuck out to me. And as I was looking at this scripture, I couldn't get away from this. I'm not as advanced in my study as these guys are, so it takes me a few times to pick up on things. And I've heard this scripture several times, and I've heard it preached on and taught on. But when they were looking at this, it's just something that jumped out to me. It's funny how that works. This book is however many years old, but you still read it over and over, and just something new comes to you every time. And that's kind of how this was. But anyways, here we're going to pick up in verse 31. I'm going to read a little bit down through here, but we'll start with verse 31. It says, "And the Lord saith, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not, and when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. And he said unto him, Lord, I am ready to go with thee in both into prison and to death. And he said, I tell thee, Peter, the cock shall not crow this day before that thou shalt thrice deny that thou knowest me. And he said unto them, When I sent you without purse and scrip and shoes, lacked ye anything? And they said, Nothing. Then said he unto them, But now he that hath purse, let him take it, and likewise the scrip. And he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. For I say unto you, that this is written, must ye be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among transgressors, for the things concerning me have an end. And they say, Lord, behold, there are 2 swords. And he said unto them, It is enough. I read a little bit more than what we're going to talk about, but I feel like you need the whole background when you look at this. But what I want to look at is when the Lord's talking to Peter here, and he says it up in verse 31. And it just jumped out to me when Ray was talking about it. He was talking about, I believe it was sifting shark's teeth. He mentioned something about that. We like to look for shark's teeth when we're out on the beach too. It's something that we like to do, looking and find them. We don't sift for them. We just like to find them. I tell Trish all the time I'm better at it than she is. And she'll agree with me, I'm sure. But that's something we like to do. But when he was talking about that sifting, you put them things and you put that sand and you dump all that in that sifter and you shake it, and you're shaking it so that you can find what's in there. What's deep inside comes to the surface. That's the purpose of what you use that sifter for. And when you're looking at here, and he's talking about Satan wanting to do that same thing to Peter. Just a few verses earlier, there they were having the Lord's Supper. Peter's been through some things in his life. Peter's one of my favorites to read about. I like to read that scripture where he walks on the water. That's I tell my Sunday school class this all the time. It's one of my favorite scriptures because I can't find anywhere else that's ever happened again. That's just one of those things that's the only time you see it and you never see it again. So Peter is a person that has been around Jesus and seen some great miracles. So when you look at this and you see what the Lord tells him right here, talking about Satan hath desired to have you that he may sift you. And I've got some things written down here I'm going to read for you. It says, Jesus told Simon, Satan wanted to sift him like wheat. This means that Satan wanted to bring all of his flaws and imperfections to the surface. He wanted to, I don't know if you've ever looked for shark's teeth in one of them sifters, but you can't find them if you just put the sand in there and you just sit there and it'll take forever for all that sand just to fall out. When you put that sand in there, it helps if you have water too, to put a little water in there, but you put it in there and you shake that thing back and forth. You give it you got to put some effort into making those things come to the surface. Kendall likes to do that thing where you go to the gym mining thing, and it's the same thing where you put that thing in the water and you shake it, and you put it through some things to get those things to come to the surface. And that's what Satan desired to do to Peter, is he wanted to put Peter in a situation where some things were going to happen. It wasn't going to be some pleasant things, and it was going to put him in a situation where those things on the inside was going to come out, and people was going to see it. And as Christians, when Ray was talking about this, it just jumped out to me how Satan has that same desire for us today. Is he wants to do the same thing to us as he did to Peter, where he puts us in that sifter and he puts us in situations where he wants to bring out the worst in us so that people see our imperfections and our flaws. I heard something saying a while ago, it's kind of funny, but it's got some truth to it. But it was talking about how if you're a Christian and you're saved, if you're walking in your life and you don't have any opposition or the devil's not opposed to you in any way in your walk, in your prayer life and whatever it is, that it may just be that you're walking in the same direction that he is. And there's no need for him to oppose it because you're doing exactly what he wants you to do. But Satan he had a desire, it says he had a desire for him, that he wanted to sift him as wheat and bring those things to the surface. And Peter gets a bad rap, and a lot of people look at Peter in this situation and they want to say, well, I'd never done that. There ain't no way. After the Lord let me walk on the water and I've seen the Lord do all these miracles, no way. There ain't no way. But if you really look inside yourself and you see a lot of what Peter went through right here. It comes out on us all the time. We just don't want to admit it. I'll tell you this story right here, and this, don't think bad of me. I try to be what I should be, but I'm going to tell you this here. We was at the gas station one day, and Tricia can attest to this. She was with me, Kendall as well. Once you have a kid, too, you got to be careful. They'll call you out on stuff. Just as they'll catch you and they'll call you out on stuff, sure as the world. But anyways, we was at the gas station one day, and I don't remember what was going on. It was one of these days that something was happening. We was having a shortage of gas. It always seems like every month they've got a reason why we're short on gas, and everybody's racing to fill gas. Whatever it was, I don't know. But we were there, and I was waiting at the diesel pump in my truck to put diesel in my truck, and I'm sitting like this. And I'm sure for you people that drive diesel vehicles know there's only a limited amount of pumps that serve diesel fuel. At Ingalls, there's 14 pumps, and there's probably 12 of them that got gas on it. There's the last 2 on the end that got diesel. That's all there is. So when I pulled there was trucks there waiting, and I pulled up behind them, and I was waiting in line to get diesel. And I'm sitting there in my truck. The windows are tinted dark on it. I don't like the sun shining in, so I got my windows up. We were sitting there and you couldn't see, but I was parked like this. Well, that truck in front of me pulls out. And as soon as he pulls out, there was a car coming in off of Boulevard out there in Weaverville, pulls into Ingalls. Sun, sure as the world, pulls right up there and right into the pump. Me sitting here in front of it. I look at Trish, I said, I'm going to get out of this car and go. So I, just as luck would have it, the pump beside me, of car pulls out. So I'm like, I'll just pull around the other side, I guess. So I pull around, and as you get, sometimes you're mad in that situation, and you just want to let them have an earful, and you're ready. And I promise you, I need to work on this. Tricia can attest when I get aggravated in the car. Anyways, I said all that. I jumped out of the car to put diesel in, and I was just waiting to see who that was on the other side. That person that just pulled. They had to see me. There ain't no way they didn't see this big giant white truck right in front of this other one. But anyways, so I pulled around there, and that jump out, and I put the nozzle in there, and I'm looking around the pump to see who it was. And this 80-year-old man gets out of his car, and he walks around through there. And by this point, I feel about that small. But he walks around the pump, and he looks at me, and he says, "Was you waiting on this pump? I didn't see you till you drove around." She said, "This old car that I got here doesn't run on anything good but this non-ethanol gas. So this is the only pump that has the non-ethanol gas." So I pulled up here. I didn't mean to. And I said, "No, you're fine." I didn't tell him what I was wanting to tell him 15 seconds earlier. But it's situations like that. When I was reading and studying, that situation popped into my head. It's lighthearted in the fact that it wasn't a big deal and nothing happened at it. But the devil uses situations like that to pull the worst out. I mean, what would have happened if I'd have jumped out there and just started in, and that old man got out the car, and somebody seen me out there yelling at a little old man about taking my. He probably would have, Ray. He looked like he meant business when he got out of there. But it was just one of those, and I'm sure you guys have scenarios like that too. I'm sure it's not just me, but I tell you that to say that the devil uses those situations, and like I say, that was a lot harder when it was just a funny thing that had happened. But he wanted this situation with Peter so that people would see him and see how he acted and see him deny Christ, somebody that walked on water, somebody that had just ate the Lord's Supper with him. If somebody like that would deny him, then what's the point of... And that the devil uses that, and it talks about here, he desired to have you. The devil wanted that. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself here in this, but the devil, it talks about here, it says, "Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you." Satan knows there's only so much he can do to a Christian, somebody that's saved. And he knew in this situation he couldn't do anything to take Peter's salvation away. He couldn't do anything to harm the disciples' salvation. That's already been taken care of. That's already sealed. That's already been written down. As a Christian, our salvation's already been written down. It's nothing that we do. I mean, like I say, we don't have a license to go just live however we want. But our salvation isn't something that we're going to just get taken away from us. That's something that once we experience it, we got it. So Satan knew that. And in knowing that, it says that he may sift you. He still had to ask permission to mess with Peter in even this way. As a Christian, when Ray was talking about sifting that the other day, and it's like it jumped out of the book at me. When the devil's pushing us and he's trying to get us to act a certain way, and he's trying to get us to basically ruin our testimony and let somebody see us doing something that is not what we should be doing, he has to ask permission to even do that. He can't do anything to a Christian. He can try to do things to hurt our testimony and to hurt what we have and what we do here. I'm going to skip down a little bit here. It says... Satan, just like God, once we get saved, God has a plan for our life once we get saved. He knows what he wants us to do, and we don't always do that plan, but he has a plan for what he wants our life to be. And just as that goes, Satan, as his opposition, has a plan for where he wants us to be and what he wants to do with us. It goes from being a lost man and Satan trying to do everything he can to keep that separation there and keep us away from ever attaining salvation in the first place. It goes from that to him doing what he did to Peter and sifting him and causing him to raise things to the surface where people can see that he's not perfect and he's not this Mr. Holy Man. He's a human being just like everybody else, and he has flaws. And if he, somebody that walked on water, somebody that one of the greatest miracles in the Bible, will deny Christ, then what's really to this if he'll do it? So just like Jesus has a plan, Satan has that plan where he wants to ruin what we're doing. He wants to poke us and prod us. Everything we do, anything. Why does it seem like when I was studying this morning, like I say, I had looked a little earlier in the week trying to find where we was at, and I was like, well, I'm just going to do what stuck out to me the other day. That's just something that was out to me, and I said, it may not help anybody else. I said, but it really touched me when I was studying this, so I'm going to share it with everybody else. But while I was doing that, it just felt like, well, why would you even see this? They've already heard this. They don't need you to say this. It was just all, even this morning walking in, they've already heard this. You don't need to share this, but that's what he does. He wants to prod. Any time you're doing something for the Lord, he's going to be there to try to poke you and let you. And it's, a lot of times we let little things get in the way, but it can be as little as, giving you a flat tire on the way to church puts you in a bad mood. Little things like that. He could just do little things to poke you and prod you and get these things to come out here. Somebody's calling. But it says he wants us to fail, and he wants us to fail miserably. That's why he sifts you, so that everybody can see your flaws, your mistakes, your weaknesses. All that's brought so people can see that. When he's trying to, before we get saved, keep us from meeting God, and he's trying to keep that division to where we don't know what it is like to be saved. He's trying to keep that divide there. Once we get saved, he's trying to keep us from telling other people about that divide. He's trying to keep us from sharing what God's done for us, because what that does is that leads other people to Jesus. It leads other people to see what God's done for us, and he'll just continue on whatever he can do to sift and argue on. And this right here, Peter, like I say, Peter gets a bad rap for this when he goes on, because he does exactly what Jesus told him he'd do. He denies him 3 times just like he told him he would. But if we really look deep down, we got a lot of that same mindset that Peter has right there. If you really take a step back, and I talk to Kendall all the time about peer pressure. She's one of those that she don't want to make anybody mad. She's got the kindest heart, and anybody says something to her, if I ask her a question, she'll be like, well, that's fine. I'm like, no, I want you to tell me yes or no. Do you want to do it? Do you not want to do it? Tricia, she can attest to this. It's who she is. She's so it worries me, to think about her, because the world is not a kind place, and she's in school. She's in 4th grade now, and she's going to run into that where the world's going to try to push her in a certain way and push her to things, and I want her to see that that she can stand up for that. And Peter, I feel like at this instance when he denied God, he was around some people that didn't believe the same way he did, and it was easier for him to say, no, I've never seen him. I don't know who that man is. That wasn't me that you seen with him. That was somebody else. It was easier for him to do that than stand up. There's some difficulties that come with being a Christian. There's some things you got to do that aren't easy. And I want her, Kendall, to realize, even at a young age, that it's okay to be different, not even, talking spiritual. It's okay to not agree with everybody all the time. That's just how that works. You've got to be okay with that. I feel like we're raising a whole generation. Just watch the news, you'll see it. They just want to agree with everything. You ask these people out here protesting, it's the craziest thing. I drove through Weaverville, and there's a whole bunch of them holding the sign. I don't even know what they're protesting now. I mean, Lord have mercy, it's something every week. I don't get it. But I see the videos all the time of them going to these young people and asking them what they're protesting, and they say, They can't even tell you. They don't even know why they're there. They're just there because everybody else is there. It's just a place to be. It's a place to stand up. And that's what's easy to do as a Christian when we get around people that aren't Christians, and we get in a place that's difficult, and the devil's there, and all these people are there saying, telling you what he is and what he isn't, and they're telling you how foolish it is to believe the way that you believe, and they're telling you that you're a bigot, and that they're all the words that they throw, they're throwing all this at you. It's easy sometimes to just say, well, that's not me. I don't believe that way. That's them over there. That's not me. I wasn't with them. I wasn't, and that's kind of what Peter got caught up in a little bit. If you're just being honest, that's kind of what it was. There was some people around him that didn't believe like he did, and even though he had been there, denied it. I'm not going to say I got a little bit ahead of myself there, but it says Satan is strong, but he's limited in what he can do by the Lord Jesus. Jesus and Satan, or it says Jesus said Satan asked to sift Simon. The word literally means the devil demanded to sift Peter as wheat. Think about it. The devil wanted to sift Peter, but he didn't have the authority to do anything without God's permission. Same thing happened to Job. He couldn't do the things to Job that he did without having to ask God's permission first. And when we go through things in our life as Christians, it's the same way. He can't do anything to us that God don't allow him to do. And we get so bent out of shape and flustered, and just like the scenario at the gas station where we want to just act all out of place over the littlest things. We step back and think, what can he do to a Christian? There ain't nothing he can do. He can just poke us and antagonize us and just try to get something out of us. Skip down just a little bit here. It says Satan is limited in what he can do, and he can't do anything without God's permission. He can sift, but he can't stop you. He can discourage you, but he can't destroy you. He can tempt you, and he can terrify you, but he can't take you. He can't do anything other than just what he did to Peter in this instance. He can put him in a place that makes him uncomfortable. He can put him, look at the United States now. If this don't make a Christian person feel uncomfortable, I don't know what will make them feel. Just walk through anywhere. I drive through downtown Asheville every evening. Every evening I will drive through it, and every evening I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I don't even want to be, me and Tricia asked Tricia the last time we've been to Asheville to eat. I just don't go. It's not, anything. I just don't feel comfortable there. I'm not wanted there. I'm not accepted there. It's not around the people that I want to be around. That's just how it is. But there ain't nothing that this world, look at the leaders that we got in office right now and the things that they're doing. There ain't nothing they can do to hurt a Christian. If you read the book of Revelations, what's going to happen to us has already been settled. It's already over with. And it's discouraging to me sometimes because I got a little girl and she's 9 years old and she's in school and she has to go in, and I know that there's some of them teachers in there that are going to be telling her stuff that ain't right, and there's going to be I've told this to my Sunday school class before. She was in, may have been the school she's in now, I can't remember. We went to one of the schools and walking through looking at the classes before the school started, and the school counselor, it may not be a big deal to everybody else, but it was a big deal to me. In the pencil holder on her cup, she had a tiny little pride flag in elementary school that was sitting in her cup on her desk. And most people wouldn't have noticed it, but that's concerning when that's the school counselor at their elementary school. And you wonder how we get in the mess that we're in when they're in high school and they don't know right from wrong, and they don't know if they're going to use the boys' or the girls' bathroom. We've got counselors in the elementary school that got these little things sitting on their desk when they go in there to see them. That's what they see. That's what's accepted. So it's discouraging when you see that and you see the things that are going on. You hear the stories all around. Used to be they were all everywhere else, but now they're in our neighborhoods and they're in our schools and they're in our town. Just drive through downtown. I'll tell you another story real fast. We went trick-or-treating, and in Weaverville. That's Kendall likes to go trick-or-treating because she's got friends in Weaverville. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not like trick-or-treating. It's my least favorite thing to do. It's dark, and there's a lot of people out there, and I don't like it. There's kids everywhere, and they're running, and nobody's making them do anything. They're yelling, and it's not my scene. If you ask Trish, I was ready to leave. Was I ready to leave when we got there? Yep, I was ready to leave when we got there. But anyway, just to go to show you, Weaverville, when I was younger growing up, you drive through it in 3 minutes. Most of the time you didn't even see another car. You just, we drove down there to park that evening and couldn't even find a place to park. We had to, luckily got somebody pulled out, and I just was able to parallel park right on the side of the road. But there was that many people downtown, and now there's a couple breweries down there now. But we get out of the car and get Kendall out, and I've got them, and I put my sweatshirt on. We get ready to walk down through there, and there's businesses down here, and Kendall's getting her candy from these businesses, and we walk by, and there's this man and woman. They look like they're about Ray's age. I don't know if they were Ray's age or not, but that's what they look like. 35, I think, probably about 35. But we walk by, and there's nowhere on the sidewalk to walk down through there without walking right beside these people. So as you walk down, and like I say, I'm from Weaverville, as most some of y'all are, and you just say hey there. That's how it used to be. You just talk to everybody, be nice. And we're walking by. This gentleman walks by, and he said, "Hey, how are you?" Whatever. His wife walks by, and she's dressed as a werewolf, and I look over at her and I say, "Hey, how are you?" And she goes, "Arr!" And I was like, I turned and I told Trish, I said, "We need to leave this. I ain't been here 30 seconds and I've already got growled at by." It was something else. So it let me know real quick that that's not my scene. That's not where I need to be. Anyways, but it makes you feel uncomfortable, and like I say, I love Weaverville because it was where I was raised at. But if you look at the things that are going on, and the things that they're doing, and the things that they're letting in, it's not what it used to be. It's not pro what I believe. We'll just say that. They're accepting everything else. To be honest with you, it's going along the same ways as that Asheville went. They'll first, the breweries come in, and then all the weirdos that come with it. And that's coming this way. But anyways, it's just something that makes you feel uncomfortable, and that's the way Peter was then. He was in some crowds that made him feel uncomfortable. He wasn't around the disciples no more. He wasn't at the table with Jesus. He was around people that were looking for somebody to crucify, and they were looking to find something wrong with Jesus and anybody that had anything to do with him. And when they looked at Peter, Peter was in amongst them, and he denied them because he was outnumbered. I mean, that's just, when I look at that story and read that, that's what comes to my mind, is he's seen that and was like, I'm in a lot of times we look down at Peter for that, but I'm not so sure that a lot of us wouldn't do the same thing. We get in a situation like that, and even though we've seen Jesus do some amazing things in our churches, and in our area, look at it now. Where are those churches at now? Where is it's? Anyways, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but not only that, where it talks about that sifting, this is another thing that jumped out to me here. We know that Satan has that desire to sift Peter, and he wants to try to bring those things to the surface just like he does us. But not only that, you get down here, this 32, and this is the verse here that should make you feel some type of way as a Christian. This is something that should encourage you here. It says, this is Jesus talking. It's red letters here. So it says, "But I have prayed for thee that thou faith fail not. And when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren." Looking at this, and I'm sure to hear the Lord tell you that Satan wants to sift you. I could imagine what that would make somebody feel like, that the devil has a desire to sift you and do bad things to you to get you to raise these things to the top. But you get to verse number 32 here, and it says, "But I have prayed for thee that thy faith fail not. And when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren." So when the devil is doing these things, and he's egging them on, and he's putting them in this group of people that he's not comfortable with, and gets him to deny Christ 3 times, Jesus has already prayed for him. Jesus was already making it available and praying that he would have enough faith and enough faith to get through. He was already doing it. And just as he was praying with Peter, I tell my Sunday school class this all the time. As I mentioned earlier, it scares me to have a 9-year-old right now and see what's going on. But I heard somebody say something one time, is just as these people in the Bible were made for the time, these kids today, God knew what they were going to go through, and he knew what was going to be happening. And those ones that were born today, they were meant to be here now. And he made them for this time, and he's got a plan for her just like he did these back then. So when I read that, it's such an encouragement to know that, Satan ain't never going to stop sifting us as Christians while we're here. It ain't never going to get no easier. God never promised us it would be easy as us to walk through this life. He's going to continue to do these things to try to get us to mess up and hurt our testimonies. But to know that when you read this verse that, yeah, he's going to do that. But first of all, he had to ask permission to even do that. But not only did he have to ask permission to do that Jesus has already prayed for us before that's ever taken place. And I struggle to comprehend this when my mind's so small, it's hard to comprehend. But when, thinking about when Jesus saved me, I think back to that time and, thinking back to, he knew all the things that I'd done and all that. And he said, but not only that, but to think about when he saved me and the fact that he knew that even after he saved me, I would still mess up and I would still do, and he still chose to do that. It's something that blows my mind. And when I read this verse here and it talks about, and I prayed for thee and thy faith to fail not, when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. It says, Jesus told Peter, Satan has asked about you to sift you like wheat, and I had prayed for you and that your faith may not fail. You may wonder. Let me skip down out here. It says, in a sifter, the flour is turned upside down and agitated and shaken up. That's what it takes to get those things out and to pure flour and everything to fall through. It takes that shaking up, and that's what he was talking about here. I'm sorry, I'm skipping down a little bit for the sake of time. Y'all bear with me here. It says, Jesus said, Peter, I'm gonna let Satan sift you, but I'm going to pray for you. I lost my place here. A few hours after the Last Supper, Jesus prayed a beautiful prayer that is recorded over in chapter number John 17. This is what he prayed. My prayer is not for, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, is not for them alone, but I pray for also for those who believe in me through their message. That's over in John 17, chapter 20. Like I say, I'm paraphrasing, of course. He was praying for Peter, James, John, all the others, disciples, and 12, but he's also praying for everybody that would come after him. So when you read this verse and he says, I have prayed for you, he wasn't just praying for Peter. He was praying for all 12 disciples. He was praying for the people that would get saved after that. He was praying for all of us in that moment. It says the good news is that Jesus prayed in past tense, but the better news is that he prayed in present tense. Hebrews 25 it's over there where he talks about he goes to make intercession for us. He's praying, even now, he's making intercession for us, just like he did for Peter back then. Let me skip down here just a little bit further here. It says, when you get down here to the bottom of this, it says this is Peter's response to the Lord telling him that he's going to forsake him and that the devil wants to sift him. He says, and he said unto him, Lord, I am ready to go with thee both into prison and to death. And then the Lord tells him, and he said, I tell thee, Peter, the cock shall not crow on this day before thou hast denied me, or thou shalt thrice deny that thou knowest me. And he said unto them, when sent you without purse and scrip and shoes, lacked ye yet anything? And they said nothing. So he's telling the Lord after the Lord's told him that he's going to sift him. In my mind, like I say, when I see things, it's imagine it through my eyes. I imagine the Lord kind of just looked at him like he looks at me sometimes when I say something. He's just like, Peter, really? I just told you what was going to happen. And then Peter tells him, Lord, I'm ready to go with thee, both into prison and into death. It brings you back to that verse number 32, is he knew Peter, and he knew what Peter was going to do. And he knew Peter was going to deny him 3 times, even though Peter looks at him right in the face and says, here's what he says, I'm ready to go with thee, both in prison and to death. I'm ready to do it. Let's do it. And we know what happens when you get down here the 3 times that he denied him. Yet Jesus knew what was going to happen, and Jesus prayed for him, and he knew what was going to. It says, and Jesus knows us, and he knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows every time that we failed in the past, and he knows every time that we're going to fail in the future. Yet, here he is, and he still loves us, just like he knew. And when you get up here, like I say, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but when you get back here to the end of verse number 32, it says, I have prayed for thee that thou fail not, and when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. So he knew Peter was going to deny him. But when you get down here to the end of this verse, in verse number 32, it talks about, and when thou art converted. He's not talking about Peter getting saved again. He's talking about when Peter comes to his senses and realizes what he's done. And then when he realizes that he did exactly what the Lord told him he was going to do, and he failed him, and he denied him 3 times, 3 different ways he denied him and let him down. He realized that he's going to have to ask forgiveness for that, and he's going to, once he asks forgiveness for that and gets forgiven, it's not saying that he gets saved again, but he's back to his senses. He's asked forgiveness. That's behind him now. And once that's happened, it says, moves on to, after you're converted, strengthen thy brethren. So it goes on to helping the people behind you. Yeah. After he knows that he's going to deny him, after he knows that he's going to let him down, he prayed for him, not only that his faith wouldn't fail him, but that he could help the people coming behind him. Yeah. So when it talks about him praying for that, those people coming behind him, that's us. Yeah. Obviously we're way down the line at this point. But when it talks about strengthening our brethren and pray, he's praying for us today. And it's something that, like I say, I've read this scripture 100 times, and that's something that never jumped out. I got one more thing here, and I'll let you go. It says, the great lesson that we can learn from Peter is that he was sifted by Satan, and he denied the Lord. But that wasn't the last chapter in Peter's life. As you look at our lives, we failed Jesus all the time. Whatever it is, whether it's, whatever it is that we fail at. But it's good to know when you read this story here and you see what Peter did. And it's bad to think that somebody like that could deny Jesus. But when you get down over here, and I'm not going to skip there for the sake of time, but when you get down here and see what happened after that, how he was able to come back from that. Yeah. It should be an encouragement to us as Christians to know that when the devil sifts us, and sometimes we do fail, and sometimes we do hop out of the truck and say something we shouldn't say when somebody honks their horn at us. Whatever it is, and sometimes we do let these things come to light to know that, we can be converted back and we can be strengthened. And not only that, but we can be a blessing to those around us and those ones that come after us. That's all I got for you today. I'll stop right there. I appreciate your attention.